silence after war. The world was quiet. Too quiet. Ashes still floated in the wind, and the sky above was gray. Broken ships, burned trees, and shattered weapons covered the land. It was the end of a war that had taken everything from her. Solari, a tall alien woman with soft purple skin and long silver hair, walked slowly across the ruins. Her arms were wrapped around her daughter, Nira, who was only 5 years old. Her eyes, once full of life, were now tired and empty. Her mate had died just 2 weeks ago. She saw it happen with her own eyes. A human soldier had fired the shot. She screamed that day. Her world broke in half. Since then, there had been no rest, no peace, only silence. They hid in what was left of an old building near the edge of the forest. Its walls were cracked and cold, but it was all they had. There was no food, no water. Nira was getting weaker each day. Solari knelt beside her daughter and gave her the last piece of dried fruit. "Eat this, little one," she whispered. "Are we going to die, Mama?" Nira asked in a soft voice. Solari didn't answer. She only held her close and looked at the sky. That night, while Nira slept, Solari stepped outside. The moon was dull and red. Wind howled softly between the broken buildings. She walked a little, her hand gripping the sharp blade she always kept hidden. Then she heard something. Footsteps. Fast. Coming closer. She ducked behind a wall. Her heart raced. Her grip on the blade tightened. Someone was coming through the rubble. A human. His armor was scratched and dirty. Blood ran down his arm. He looked weak. Tired. Lost. He didn't see her yet. Solari jumped out and pointed her blade at his throat. He froze. They stood still. His hands went up slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said. Solari didn't speak. Her eyes narrowed. Her hand didn't move. "My name is Tom," he said, voice low. "I crashed here. I'm alone." "You're human," she hissed. "Your kind killed my mate." His eyes lowered. "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" She took a step closer. "You say sorry and think it means something?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something from his bag, a small package of food, and placed it on the ground. "Your daughter," he said. She looked hungry. Solari looked at the package. It was sealed. Safe. Real food. Her stomach growled. Her hand still held the blade, but her mind was confused. Why would a human offer food? Tom slowly backed away, hands still up. "I'll leave if you want. Just don't hurt me." Solari didn't lower her blade, but she didn't strike either. She waited. Watched. After a moment, she picked up the food and stepped back toward her shelter. Tom turned and limped away, disappearing into the shadows. Nira woke in the morning with the smell of something warm. Solari had heated the food over a small fire. "Where did this come from, Mama?" "Don't ask," Solari said softly. Nira ate with a smile. It was the first time she'd smiled in days. That night, Tom returned. Solari saw him coming and stepped out to meet him. Her blade was still at her side. He carried more supplies. Water, bandages, food. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. He looked at her. "Because not all of us are the same." "You think that makes it better?" "No," he said. "But maybe it's a start." Solari watched him for a long time. She didn't trust him. Not yet. But she didn't tell him to leave either. As days passed, Tom came again and again. He never stayed long. Just enough to drop supplies, check on them, and leave. Nira started to like him. She called him the quiet human. Solari stayed alert, guarded. But inside her heart, something strange was happening. The silence after the war had been full of sorrow. Now there was still silence, but it felt different, softer. War had taken her mate, taken her home. But maybe, just maybe, this human could give her something else. Something like hope. A human stranger. The forest around the broken city was quiet, but not peaceful. Solari stood near the edge of the shelter, her eyes watching the trees. It had been 3 days since Tom had brought them food. She didn't know if he would come back. Her daughter, Nira, sat on the cold stone floor playing with tiny rocks. She hummed a soft song, one that her father used to sing. Solari turned away. Her heart still hurt when she heard that song. Suddenly, a soft rustling came from the forest. Solari grabbed her blade. A shadow moved between the trees. Nira stopped humming. "Is it him, Mama?" Solari said nothing. She stepped outside and raised her blade. The figure came closer, limping slightly. A human soldier. Tom. But something was wrong. He was bleeding badly from his leg. His breathing was heavy. He dropped to one knee and held up his hand. "Don't attack." Solari ran to him and caught his arm before he could fall. "What happened?" "Ambush," he whispered. "Others found me. Not your kind. Not mine. Scavengers." She helped him inside. Blood stained the ground behind them. Nira gasped when she saw him. Solari pushed her behind a broken wall. "Get water," she ordered. Nira ran. Solari began cutting away the fabric from his leg. A deep wound stretched across his thigh. It was burned. Energy weapon. "Why would you come back like this?" she asked angrily. Tom smiled weakly. "Because I said I would." They stayed hidden for the next few days. Tom was too weak to move. He slept most of the time, groaning in pain. Solari used herbs she found in the forest to treat him. They had little medicine, but she tried. Nira sat beside him often. She told him stories, some made up, some real. Solari watched in silence. This human, once the enemy, was now bleeding in her shelter. And her daughter was smiling beside him. What kind of world was this? On the 4th night, Tom finally spoke clearly. "My unit is gone," he said. "They left when they thought I was dead." Solari nodded. "And now?" "I don't know. I could try the comms tower in the east. Maybe signal for help." "You would bring more humans?" "No," he said. "I don't want war, just peace for all of us." Solari looked at him. "Peace took my mate." Tom looked down. "It took a lot for me too." The next morning, trouble came. 2 aliens, same race as Solari, stepped out of the trees with weapons in hand. They were scouts from a rebel group. "Solari?" one asked. "You're alive?" She nodded slowly. Her eyes moved to the corner where Tom lay hidden. "What are you doing out here?" the other scout asked. "There's a camp to the west. Safe. We've gathered survivors. You and the girl should come." Solari thought quickly. "I will come. Soon. I just need time." The scouts looked suspicious. "You're hiding something," one said. He stepped forward, sniffing the air. "A human?" Solari gripped her blade. "No." They moved closer. Before they could see Tom, Solari stepped forward. "Leave now." "You're protecting him," one of them growled. "You're a traitor." "I'm protecting my daughter," she said. "He saved her life." They raised their weapons, but suddenly, Tom stood behind them, barely holding his rifle. "You can shoot me," he said, "but she's no traitor." They turned fast, aimed at him, but Solari moved first. She threw her blade and hit one in the shoulder. Then she grabbed Nira and ran. They ran through the trees for hours. Deep into the forest, Nira was crying. Tom was limping behind them. The wound on his leg was bleeding again. They didn't stop until night came. Finally, they found an old watchtower, long broken but still standing. Inside was dark and cold. Solari set up a fire. She wrapped Tom's leg again. He looked pale. "Why did you come out?" she asked. "Because I didn't want you to die for me. I could have handled them." "I know," he said. "But you shouldn't have to." Solari didn't reply. Nira sat beside her. "Mama, Are we still running? Solari nodded. For now. Later that night, Tom opened his eyes. The firelight flickered. Thank you, he whispered. Solari looked at him. You could have run away a long time ago. I stayed for her, he said, pointing at Nira. And maybe for you too. Solari felt something strange in her chest. Fear, anger. No, it was warmth, and it scared her more than war ever had. Old pain, new fire. The old tower stood against the wind like a ghost of the past. Inside, the fire was dying. Solari didn't sleep that night. She sat near the fire, holding her blade and watching Tom breathe. His face was pale. Every few minutes, he twitched in pain. Nira was curled up in a blanket beside him. Her small hand rested on his chest. She looked peaceful. Safe. Solari's mind, however, was a storm. Why did she feel this way? This human was not her kind. His people had taken everything from her. And yet, here he was, bleeding beside her, after saving her again. As the sun rose, Solari stepped outside to gather wood. The morning fog clung to the trees. The world looked like it had forgotten how to be alive. But Solari's thoughts were loud. She remembered the day the war reached their home. Her mate Keelan had held her hand as their village burned. He had whispered, "Run, take Nira. I'll hold them off." She had screamed his name as he disappeared in the smoke, the sound of gunfire, the human flags flying, the silence after. She had never cried in front of Nira, never allowed herself to fall. But now that same pain, sharp and buried, was rising again. Back at the tower, Tom had woken. He sat up slowly and looked at Nira. She was still asleep. He saw Solari come in and nodded. "Morning?" She didn't reply. He could feel the wall between them. "I know what you're thinking," he said. "You don't trust me. You shouldn't. I wouldn't either." Solari put the wood down. "Then why are you here?" "Because I've seen enough death," Tom said. "I didn't join the war to destroy families. But you did." "Yes?" he said, voice low. "I did, and it haunts me." Solari looked at him sharply. He continued, "I saw a child die in my arms, an alien child. I couldn't save her. I never forgot her face." Silence filled the space between them. "What do you want from us?" she finally asked. "Nothing," he said. "But maybe I can fix a small part of what's broken." A few days passed. Tom's leg began to heal slowly. Nira grew closer to him, always asking questions, showing him drawings made on stone walls. Solari stayed quiet, distant. But inside something was changing. And then they heard something. A ship. A low hum in the sky. Solari grabbed her blade and pulled Nira behind her. Tom looked up. "That's not human." Solari's eyes widened. "Then who?" The ship flew past overhead, dark, fast, silent. "Scavengers," Tom whispered. "Pirates." "They'll kill us if they find us," Solari said. Tom stood, limping toward the broken window. "We need to leave this tower now." They moved quickly deeper into the forest. Hours passed. The sun dipped low, and then, shouts in the distance, figures in the trees. Solari pulled Nira close and drew her blade. "Go," she told Tom. "Take her and go." "Not without you," he said. "They'll kill me. I'm one of their kind, but they follow no rules." "And they'll kill me too," he replied. "But we won't run. Not this time." Solari stared at him. Then, "We fight," she said. They set up a trap. Solari led them to a narrow path through the rocks. Tom helped dig shallow holes and covered them with leaves and spikes made from broken metal. They waited. Shadows approached, 3 scavengers, 2 armed with rifles, 1 with a blade. Tom and Solari struck fast. The first one fell into the trap, screaming. Solari rushed the second, her blade flashing in the sunlight. Tom tackled the third, rolling into the dirt, grabbing the rifle and twisting it away. Nira hid behind a rock, her hands over her ears. When the fight was over, 2 scavengers lay dead. One had run. Tom stood, his face bruised, blood dripping from his lip. Solari was breathing hard, her arm cut. They looked at each other. No words needed. They had protected each other. Again. That night, under a clear sky, they built another fire. Nira lay asleep again. Solari sat beside Tom, staring at the flames. "I didn't think I'd make it this far," she said. "Me neither," Tom replied. She looked at him. "You're not what I expected from a human. And you're not what I expected from someone who lost everything." She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. "Thank you," she said. Tom blinked. "For what?" "For helping her smile again." He nodded, and for the first time since the war, Solari closed her eyes and let herself rest. The choice morning came, with a cold wind and silence that didn't feel safe. Solari opened her eyes slowly. Tom was already up, watching the horizon with a rifle in his hands. The forest around them was calm, but it was too calm. "We have to keep moving," he said without turning. Solari nodded. "They'll come back with more." Nira was still asleep, curled up in a blanket. Solari gently shook her awake. They moved, again, following Tom through narrow trails. Trees surrounded them on all sides. It felt like the forest was watching. After a few hours, they reached a high ridge. Below, in the valley, a small structure stood. It looked like an old communication tower, broken but not fully destroyed. "We might be able to use that to call someone," Tom said. "Not the army. Maybe civilian aid. Or maybe it alerts the wrong people," Solari said. "We don't have a choice." Solari looked at him. "There's always a choice." They climbed down slowly. It was quiet. Too quiet. Tom moved first, checking the area. "It's clear," he said. They went inside. Dust covered the floor. Vines climbed the walls. The control panels were broken, but one old power source still hummed quietly. "Can you fix it?" Solari asked. "Maybe." "It'll take time." They began setting up camp inside. It was safer than the forest, but Solari couldn't relax. Her instincts told her something was coming. Later that night, as the sky darkened, Tom worked on the console using wires and tools from his pack. Sparks flew as he connected 2 cables. Solari sat beside Nira, brushing her hair back. "Do you trust him, Mama?" Nira asked quietly. Solari didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "I don't know, but he saved us. More than once. Does that mean he's our friend?" "Maybe." Nira smiled and laid her head in Solari's lap. Tom shouted suddenly, "It's working!" Solari stood fast and ran to him. A small screen blinked. A message flashed. "Signal active. Connection ready." "I can try to send a beacon," Tom said, "but once it's out there, we can't take it back. So if the wrong ones hear it, we're dead." Solari stared at the screen, then at Nira, then at Tom. "Send it," she said. He pressed the button. A soft beep echoed through the tower. Somewhere, far away, someone now knew they were here. They took turns watching the night. Solari dreamed of her mate for the first time in weeks. In the dream, Keelan stood on a battlefield smiling, saying nothing. She tried to speak, but no sound came. He simply nodded and pointed toward the stars. She woke up crying softly. By morning, the world had changed. From the tower window, Tom spotted movement in the distance, vehicles. 2 of them. Fast. "Someone answered the signal," he said. Solari stepped beside him. "Are they human?" "No. Not the military." Solari's stomach dropped. "Scavengers. They must have picked up the signal. They had less than an hour. They prepared quickly." Solari set traps in the hallway. Tom loaded his rifle. Nira helped move supplies to the back room. "If anything happens," Solari told Nira, "you hide in there, no matter what." "But Mama," "No matter what." Nira nodded, tears in her eyes. The vehicles arrived. 4 armed scavengers broke through the front of the tower, yelling in a harsh language. Solari struck first, her blade slicing through the nearest one's arm. Tom fired from above, hitting another in the shoulder. The fight was fast, brutal, but they were outnumbered. Solari was slammed against the wall, her weapon falling from her hand. A scavenger raised his gun. "Stop," Tom shouted. He stepped between them, arms wide. "Take me," he said. "Just leave them." The scavenger hesitated. Solari grabbed her blade and lunged. She drove it into the scavenger's side. The man screamed and fell. The others ran. Blood covered the floor. Tom collapsed. Solari rushed to him. "No, no, stay awake," she said, pressing on the wound at his side. Tom smiled weakly. "Told you. Bad idea." Nira ran in crying. "Don't die." "I won't," Tom whispered. "Not yet." Hours passed. They bandaged him, stopped the bleeding. He lived, but barely. And then a soft voice came from the old console. "Hello? This is Relief Ship Valen responding to distress beacon. Is anyone there?" Solari ran to the panel. "Yes," she said. "We're here. We need help. Coordinates locked. Help arriving in 24 hours. That night, as Tom slept in pain, Solari sat beside him. She looked at him. Not as a soldier, not as a human, but as someone who had chosen to protect her child with his own life. And she made her choice. She would protect him too, no matter what came next. The storm breaks. The night felt endless. Rain crashed down outside the tower like the sky was falling. Inside, the fire had died, and the air was cold. Solari sat beside Tom, who lay wrapped in cloth, still unconscious. The bandage on his side was dark with blood. She had done her best, but the wound was deep and his skin had gone pale. "Mama? Is he going to die?" Nira asked from the corner. Solari didn't answer. Her fingers were shaking. She placed her hand gently on Tom's forehead. He was burning up. The relief ship was still hours away, and he might not have that long. Solari stood and grabbed her blade. "Stay here," she told Nira. "Watch him." "Where are you going?" "To find help. Medicine, herbs, anything." Nira nodded slowly, holding Tom's hand. Solari stepped out into the storm. The forest had changed. The trees bent under heavy wind. Lightning cracked across the sky, turning night into flashes of blue and white. Solari moved fast, her eyes searching the ground for a rare moss, a natural healer used by her people for burns and infections. She found a patch near a fallen log, but she wasn't alone. A figure moved between the trees. Solari crouched and listened. Footsteps, slow, careful, not human, not one of her own. A scavenger. She gripped her blade and stayed hidden. The man passed by, unaware, soaked in rain, dragging a rifle behind him. Just one, she thought. I can avoid him. But her foot snapped a twig. He turned. Their eyes met. He raised his weapon. Solari threw her blade. It struck his leg. He fired. A shot tore through her shoulder. She fell back, rolling behind a tree. Her hand was wet with blood, but she didn't stop. She ran. The moss still in her hand. She returned to the tower, limping, bleeding. Nira gasped. "Mama!" "I'm okay," Solari lied. "We need to help him." Together they crushed the moss and made a thick paste. Solari pressed it into Tom's wound and wrapped it again with cloth. Hours passed. The storm raged. Tom stirred. His eyes opened. "You're back," he whispered. "You almost died," Solari said, her voice shaking. "I'm hard to kill," Solari almost smiled. Almost. By morning, the storm had passed. The sun broke through the clouds. A sound filled the sky, low and powerful. They stepped outside, a ship, sleek, silver, glowing with blue lights. It hovered over the tower and slowly lowered. Solari held Nira's hand tightly. Tom stood beside them, weak but standing. The ship's door opened. A woman in a dark uniform stepped out, human, but unarmed. "You sent the signal?" she asked. Solari nodded. I'm Commander Lane. This is a humanitarian ship. We received your distress call. She looked at Tom. Lieutenant? Not anymore, he said. Just Tom now. The woman looked between them. A human soldier, an alien woman, a child. She blinked and said nothing. Inside the ship, everything was clean and bright warm food, soft blankets, real medicine. Nira laughed for the first time in weeks. Solari watched her and felt her chest tighten. It was almost like peace. Almost. But peace never lasted long. Late that night, Tom sat with Commander Lane. You know they'll come for you, she said. Who? The scavengers. They track energy. Your fight sent out a signal. Tom looked at Solari, who sat near Nira. Then we fight, he said. Lane shook her head. This ship isn't a war vessel. It's built for rescue. We don't have weapons. Then leave us, he said. I can't. You're listed as missing. Command wants you back. I'm not going. You're choosing them? She asked, surprised. Tom nodded. Why? Because they chose me. Solari stood beside him. We stay together, she said. You'll be hunted, Lane warned. Then we run, Solari replied. You can't run forever. Then we fight. Like we always have. As the ship took off to find shelter in the next valley, Solari looked down from the window. She saw the tower shrinking behind them, and in her heart, she knew the past was gone. They were no longer enemies. They were something else. Something stronger. A family. Blood and bond. The sky was a deep orange as the rescue ship soared over the shattered landscape. Inside the ship, Tom sat quietly beside Solari, his arm resting in a sling. Nira leaned on his side, half asleep. Solari watched them both, not as a soldier and an alien anymore, but something else. They were her family now. But peace was still far away. Commander Lane stood at the front of the ship, staring at the monitor. A blinking red signal lit up the screen. What is it? Tom asked. Trouble, she said. We're being followed. Solari stepped forward. How many? Lane looked at her. 12 heat signatures, fast-moving ships, scavenger class. They found us, Tom said. Lane nodded. They're angry. And they're armed. The ship shook suddenly. Explosions lit the sky outside. They're firing, shouted a crew member. Shields holding, for now, Lane said. We'll need to land. We can't outrun them for long. Anywhere. Safe? Tom asked. There's an abandoned defense base in the mountains. It has old weapon systems. If we can get them working, we stand a chance. Do it, Solari said. The ship descended fast, flying low between jagged peaks. As they landed on a snow-covered platform, Nira looked out the window. It's cold here. Stay close to me, Tom said. Will we be okay? She whispered. I promise. The base was silent, dusty, cold, filled with old machines and dark hallways. They moved inside quickly. Solari led the way, her blade ready. They found the control room. Lights flickered weakly. Old systems hummed to life. Tom and Lane worked fast, trying to activate the defense grid. Solari stood guard near the door, watching every shadow. They'll be here soon, she said. We need 5 more minutes, Tom replied. Nira found an old photo on the wall. Soldiers, both alien and human, standing side by side. They used to be friends? She asked. Once, Solari answered. Before greed, before war. Nira looked up at her. Can we be like that again? Solari didn't answer. Outside, the enemy arrived. 12 ships, black and sharp, hovering like predators. A voice echoed, from a loudspeaker. Hand over the human and the alien traitor. Or we destroy everything. Solari tightened her grip. Tom looked at Lane. Activate the weapons. We only have 1 working cannon, she said. Not enough. Tom stood slowly. Then we talk. They won't listen. Maybe not to you, he said. But they might listen to me. He stepped outside. Snow whipped around him. One of the scavenger leaders walked out, a tall, scarred alien with a long rifle. "So," he sneered, "the hero shows himself." "I didn't come to fight," Tom said, "but you've already chosen your side." "I chose people," Tom replied. "Not races, not borders," the leader growled. "Give me the child and the alien, or you die." Tom's eyes narrowed. "No." The leader raised his rifle. A shot rang out. But it wasn't from him. It was Solari, firing the defense cannon from above. The leader's shoulder exploded in blood. Chaos erupted. Ships fired. Smoke filled the air. Tom ran for cover. Solari leaped from the platform, blade in hand. The battle had begun. Solari fought like fire, spinning, striking, shielding Tom and Nira. Every move was to protect them. She was no longer just a widow. She was a mother, a warrior, a protector. Inside the base, Lane screamed over the radio. "They're breaking through the east wall," Nira cried out. "Mama!" A scavenger charged toward her. Tom grabbed a fallen weapon. He fired once, twice. The attacker fell. Nira ran to him and hugged him tight. "I'm okay," she whispered. Outside, Solari was outnumbered. She fell to one knee, wounded. A scavenger raised, his blade over her. Tom saw it and ran, without thinking, without fear. He dove between them, took the blow. The blade cut deep into his back. Solari screamed. She grabbed her blade, spun, and struck down the enemy. Tom fell into her arms. "You didn't have to," she cried. "Yes, I did," he whispered. The sound of a ship roared overhead. Reinforcements. Lane's distress beacon had worked. Human and allied alien soldiers dropped from the sky. They took down the scavengers in minutes. The battle was over. Hours. Later, inside the base's medbay, Tom lay on a bed. Solari sat beside him, holding his hand. He opened his eyes slowly. "You still don't trust humans?" he asked with a weak smile. "Just one," she said. They both laughed softly. Nira ran to him. "You saved Mama." He touched her face gently. "And I always will." Solari leaned closer. "You're not just a soldier," she said. "You're one of us now." Outside the window, snow fell quietly. The world was still broken. But in that room, a bond stronger than war had been born. A bond of blood, sacrifice, and something deeper. Love. A new dawn. The snow had stopped. Morning light poured through the cracks in the defense base, casting long shadows on the cold floor. Birds returned to the mountains. Small signs that life was still possible, even after war. Inside the med bay, Tom lay awake. His wounds were healing. His body still hurt, but his mind was clear. Solari sat beside him, her hand wrapped around his. Nira was asleep with her head on Tom's chest, a peaceful smile on her face. For the first time in weeks, there was silence that didn't feel like death. It felt like peace. Commander Lane entered quietly. "You have visitors," she said. Tom looked at her. "Who?" "Someone from Central Command and someone else. An ambassador." Solari stood. "They're here for him." Tom nodded slowly. "I knew this day would come." In the meeting hall of the base, a human general sat across from an alien ambassador, both dressed in clean official uniforms. Their eyes were cold. Serious. "Lieutenant Tom Harper," the general began. "You've broken protocol, abandoned mission, interfered in a neutral zone." "He saved my life and my child," Solari said sharply. "And he's protected more lives than he's harmed," the ambassador added. The general turned to Tom. "You are still a soldier. We can't ignore what you've done." "Then don't," Tom said. "Strip me of the rank, send me away, but I'm not leaving them." The general sighed. "You're asking to stay with the aliens?" "I'm not asking," Tom said. "I'm staying." The room went quiet. Then the ambassador spoke. "We need peace. What they built, this family, it's proof that peace can exist." The general hesitated. "Command will want answers." "Then give them one," Solari said. "We're your answer." Later, on the mountaintop outside the base, Solari and Tom stood together. Nira played nearby, laughing in the snow. They agreed, Tom said. Solari looked at him. They're letting you stay? Yes, under one condition. What is it? He turned to her. That we keep doing what we've started. Not just survive, but help rebuild. Humans and aliens. Together. Solari smiled faintly. You think we can? We already did. In the days that followed, the world began to change. The story of the soldier and the widow spread. Two enemies who became family, who fought side by side, who saved each other. Other soldiers, refugees, and civilians began to listen. A joint outpost was built on that very mountain, a place where wounded came for healing, where children, human and alien, played together. And Solari and Tom helped lead it, not with power, but with kindness, with scars, with truth. On the day of the naming ceremony, a large group gathered in the valley, human officers, alien elders, families, from both sides. They named the outpost Hopefire, because it had risen from ashes and blood, and because it burned with a light no war could kill. That night, under the stars, Solari and Tom stood beside Nira and watched the sky. You changed. Everything, she said. No, Tom replied. You did, the day you chose to let me live. She looked at him. He looked back, and for the first time she kissed him. Soft, real, not as a human and an alien, but as two hearts who had finally found home. The stars above shined brighter, and the cold wind that once whispered death now carried a new sound, laughter, life, and the quiet voice of a little girl saying, This is our new world now.